So today we're going to talk about on-demand industry, or it's like Uber, but for whatever. I guess a lot of you are thinking about how you can find a vertical to disrupt that and do like an on-demand app. Who wouldn't want to do a $50 billion company, right? So my name is Kristen, and I work for a company called Sinch. We provide an SDK for real-time communication, so you as an app owner can add voice, video, instant messaging, SMS, and that kind of stuff. On my spare time, I like to watch my kid do magic tricks. So, as a loving father, I would like him to be able to, make a living on something he loves. It's just a joy to see your kid succeed in something and see the joy in their eyes. So for this talk, I have an idea that's going to help him succeed in his professional life as a magician. So let me introduce Merlin. It's a magician on demand. So when your next Uber for X is tanking, what do? You call a magician on demand. You forget your wife's birthday, you call a magician on demand to save your ass, right? So today we're going to validate this idea to see is this really a vertical that is ready for on demand. And we're also going to talk about maybe some of the more successful ones than Merlin. So the first thing, if you're going to build an on-demand app, if you find a vertical that you think that, well, this is ripe for disruption, is it needs to be a predictable scale. You need to predict demand on a large scale basis, right? It still needs to be spontaneous because otherwise it's not an on-demand. On-demand for me is at least the service should be today and hopefully within an hour. And that's why, for example, Uber is successful, TaskRabbit, and all those companies, right? So large scale, but you need to be able to predict the demand, and it needs to be spontaneous for the individual. Okay? So how does Merlin stack up to this? I think maybe the market for magicians is pretty static. Birthdays are kind of evenly distributed over the year, which is probably a big market for magicians at home. Maybe there is a little bit of surge demand around holidays or something like that. So I would say Merlin is, it's okay. It's okay for disruption in this market. The second thing I want to talk about is that it needs to be a service that has a repeat need. And that's because it's two reasons. First, of course, you have the ARPU. You really want to monetize your hard-earned users, so a repeat need is excellent. They come back every day, hopefully, and just order stuff from you. The second thing is, if it's not a repeat need, they're probably not going to download an app for it. They're just going to Google the closest locksmith. If you take the locksmith scenario, you forgot your key Saturday night, just Google the closest locksmith, get him over there. The same goes for like a gardening service. It's not really an on-demand app in my view. It's a scheduling app. You just want to schedule that, and then you want the guy to come and mow your lawn every week, and you don't really care about it. But if you look at TaskRabbit, on the other hand, if you don't know, does everyone know what TaskRabbit is? Yeah, so I just love TaskRabbit. I moved here from Sweden, and TaskRabbit have helped me out a lot. Yeah, so, help me move, help me fix stuff at home, helping me out at meetups. Fantastic service. Merlin, on the other hand, I just don't think, I think it tanks here. I don't think there is a repeat need that is good enough. I would need a lot of money to convince the market that they need to get more magic into their life. The third thing a lot of the on-demand apps are doing is to try and find a vertical that needs the middleman, right? The middleman it's a trusted business to run. It has been around since the beginning of man, the trader. I mean, countries have built on being a trader. And then again, look at TaskRabbit. They're just trying to become like the trusted space for if you need stuff done. You need someone to help you out. You go to TaskRabbit. I at least trust that TaskRabbit is doing some kind of background check and making sure it's not a serial killer or something coming into my home and helping me out with stuff. And the same thing, of course, with the transportation business. Uber is waging a war against all the cities that are doing the medallion business. I mean, they even have a war room in their office to deal with cities that doesn't want to let them into their business. So there need to be a need for a middleman, right? Sometimes the middleman is always threatened. If you look at Dell, or Tesla for that sake. Tesla, they just want to cut out dealerships, right? They just want to sell directly to the consumers, and the same with Apple. They just want to cut out all the middleman. If they could, they would cut out the operators. So you constantly need to provide value, and that's what TaskRabbit does by being the trusted space. So I provide you with a trust. There will be no problem if you use TaskRabbit. And if you look at Uber, they're just making sure that you can actually get a car. That was actually a big problem in San Francisco before Uber. Then the fourth thing is direct communication between customers. If you take any app that is successful within the on-demand business, there is at least instant messaging involved directly with the supplier. And this is especially important if you're doing like the contract business, like TaskRabbit, Uber, and almost all the successful apps and the sharing economy that people call it is based on temporary workers. So you may not know the worker. And if you compare like ship with UPS, you can always ask the ship guy, where are you? When are you gonna come here? But then if you call UPS, they say, yeah, you know, your package is gonna be in this window. If you're lucky, it's gonna be a 2-hour window. If you live in Sweden, it's gonna be an 8-hour window. And it's just no way that you will know if you can go to the gym while you wait for the package. And that just sucks, right? So what Uber and TaskRabbit and everyone is doing is just enabling you to talk directly to the one that actually can help you. And that is super important because it becomes like a magic trick. Not only does you as an app owner, you don't need to have a big customer service department. You just talk directly to the guy or girl or the supplier that can help you tell you what's going on, tell the customer what's going on, where they're at, and you don't have to pay for it. It's fantastic, and the customer is super happy because he knows that the Uber driver is a block away and they just happen to be on the wrong side of the street, and you know exactly what's going on. So direct communication, instant messaging, or voice. I love voice, and from Sinch, so is super important, and it just saves you a bunch of money. So you validate your app. It's a predictable usage on a large scale. It's a repeat need. There is a need for a third party to manage the demand and supply. Everything is excellent. You add a call button into your app and you add an SMS button into your app. Business is booming. You get millions of customers. Money is just raining on you. And then You wake up one day and you realize that one of your suppliers just gave away the phone number to one of your customers. In this case, it's Papa John Deliverman gave out a Gazella. I don't know if you remember it, but I don't even know if it's true, but it certainly got attention in the press. So that's not so good. It's a PR disaster, right? So what's the difference here between on-demand apps and giving your phone number to the dry cleaners down the street? I mean, I always give my phone numbers to the dry cleaners. That's how I pick up my dry cleaner. I just give them my phone number, and they give me my clothing, right? Well, you're trying to build something at scale here. You're gonna have millions of customers and tens of thousands of suppliers doing stuff for you. They're gonna deliver food, they're gonna drive stuff all over the country, or it's gonna be dance instructors. We have one guy here that's involved in that, like doing telemedicine on demand. So you need to protect your users and customers. So if you want to enable real-time communication, like voice and SMS, it's a good thing if you insert yourself in the middle of that too. So since you're the middleman to, match up supplier and customer, you should still be the middleman on all channels, on all communication channels at all times. Because there is really no need for the supplier to know your exact phone number, your exact address. So you want to protect this information. You want to protect the phone number. Protect your user's identity, protect your supplier's identity. Because just as well as there can be crazy suppliers, if you have millions of customers, you're going to get some crazy customers also that are going to try and stalk your suppliers. And by inserting yourself in the middle of this, not only do you protect your users, right? You also get some good BI out of it. You will know exactly when customers and suppliers are talking to each other, when they're doing it, why they're doing it. You can even record everything if it's a voice conversation. And that's just, for me, that's just super useful information to have when I do product development. And it's also good for a customer, the customer support team to, when there is disputes over something. You can just go back and see, well, you talked to the guy and here is what was agreed. We did tell you it was for training and security purposes. We recorded the call. And at the same time, when you insert yourself in the middle of this, you can also shut down the communication channels. So there is no need for the Uber driver, or in this case, my boss. Actually, there was a need yesterday. My boss forgot his iPhone in an Uber cab, and he couldn't call the Uber driver. So they should probably keep it open a little bit longer, but they immediately shut down any means of communication as soon as you go out of the car. And that's the whole point of it, right? You want to control when the customers and suppliers are communicating with each other, because you don't want it to become a problem Saturday night, 3 a.m. That was it was a cute guy driving me home. I'm going to give him a call. Right? He doesn't want that Uber driver. Or maybe, I don't think so, at least. So how do you do this? There is a couple of ways of doing it, and I'm going to talk mainly about two ways of doing it, and it's going to be focused around voice today. And either you can do it with a regular phone network, or you can do it with VoIP calling. So the first way of doing it, which feels kind of natural for a lot of people, is just regular phone-to-phone calling, and that's exactly what Lyft is doing. For example, they're just providing a temporary local number that you can call as a user. The pros of that approach is it's the regular phone network. You don't need data. So it works in roaming scenarios. It works when data connection is poor. It actually has a very high attention rate because it's the regular phone. It's the regular phone that is ringing. The cons is that it is the regular phone network. It's just going to be an unknown number calling. So you don't know it's the Uber driver. If you're like me, I get a lot of unknown calls, so sometimes I don't feel like picking them up. And it can be costly when you're scaling out internationally. It's super cheap to call in the US, so it doesn't really matter that you pay for that. But if you go to other countries, it's not that cheap per minute. So how does that work with the Sinch platform? Well, you rent a number, you assign that to a ride, for example, or in this case, Merlin, so I assign that to a magician, and when I, as a customer, want to call that magician, I contact the Sinch backend, I ask your backend or the Merlin backend, what do you want to do with this? And say, yeah, it's okay, connect it to the magician, and start recording, and then I just dial out to the real mobile phone number or the landline or whatever the magician had left me the number. The second solution that you can do is app to phone calling. And that's basically you have one leg is VoIP and one leg is to the traditional phone network. The pros of that is that the user stays in the app, either the supplier or the customer. So you can customize the UI as much as you want, and it might make more sense for the supplier in this case to have that. So if you're a TaskRabbit and you want to call your customer, you can still see all the details about the customer, all the details about the job that needs to be done, and still talk to the customer. It works in a similar way. It's a little bit simpler. Since you don't go out of app, right? The cons of that is it's an out-of-app experience for the receiving end. It's still an unknown number. It's still costly compared to pure VoIP. Then you can, of course, turn that around and do phone to app also, which might make sense for a customer when they call the Uber driver. They call in, the Uber driver receives the call. He still has the navigation up so he can see where he's going while he's talking to the customer. Okay? Then the last part, app-to-app calling. And that's where my heart is. I love it. We're a VoIP company. And, this is just where we believe that this is where everything will end up in the future. It's starting to happen, and that is that all communication is always contextual, right? If you need to talk to someone about your magician order, it should happen in the magician app. Why go to the phone? Why would you ever give away all that information to the operators? You want to keep that, you want to track that. So the pros of doing it VoIP is, you're in total control from end to end on how you want the experience to be. It's super quick call setup. It's way quicker to set up a VoIP call than the regular phone network. A regular phone call takes between 7 to 10 seconds to set up. A VoIP call takes under half a second to set up. And that's not even, then you're not counting how long it takes for someone to pick the phone up. And you can get super high audio quality. Maybe that's not super important in the on-demand, but you do get a lot better call quality. The consequences is, data. You need data. I don't think it's a big consequence, at least not in the US and Europe. Most people are on flat rates anyway. The biggest consequence right now is you don't get the full phone experience, the high attention rate that you get from a regular phone call. And I'm looking at you, Apple. You need to fix that for VoIP calls. You just get a small notification, and that is the biggest part. So what's the verdict for Merlin? Well, it doesn't have it yet. Let's continue. Oh, wow. So, no workshop is, of course, complete without code. So, for the few developers here, I'm going to show you how quickly you can add an app to phone call in your on-demand app. Merlin might not be the best idea I had so far, so I do have a small MVP